All right, welcome back to episode 32 of Precious Metal Gents. I'm Zan here with Brian. And tonight we have a collector conversation with my friend Dylan, D Alpha Sports Cards on Instagram. He's going to be joining us in just a few minutes to talk through his collection, his 90s collection, his early 2000s collection, and give us some insight on what he plans to do next and also share with his five favorite cards in his collection. We're not going to make that's going to be the focus of the episode. We're not going to do a long drawn out thing, but we thought maybe uh, we would offer our picks for this upcoming weekend for the NFL playoffs. Brian's got his team in there. I do not. We found a way to squander the first pick of the draft. So I'll be watching the other games. But all right, so I feel the best way is probably just to start with the games in order. For the Saturday games, we got Chargers, Texans, and Ravens, Steelers. Just briefly, who do you have and why?
I have Chargers just because Harbaugh, and we all saw the Texans play enough to, I think, to the point where I don't trust them at home. I think the Texans are going to get them. I think it's going to be a lot closer than some people might think. I don't think the Texans are going to play a bad game, but I think they have trouble on defense. More so, not that they can't play defense, but when it comes to like a disciplined offense, like I think the the Chargers are. I think they're going to get them. So I think it's gonna be a close game, but I think the Chargers are gonna win that on the road. I just think they have the momentum, and I think they're just a better team overall.
I got Chargers too. Yeah, Harbaugh, the effect was real. Herbert and McConkey. Herbert only threw 3 picks this year. Had a really solid year. Wasn't his best QBR ever, but they've got a little bit of momentum. Texans, big regression for Stroud this year. I know he's had Diggs and Collins and Dell kind of all hurt at different times, which certainly doesn't help with his development. But yeah, I think the Chargers are a bit banged up. I think Johnston and Perriman and Slater are all um, have dealing with nagging injuries, but they practice in full. So I'm going to go with the Chargers as well to prevail. What about Ravens Steelers?
I think it's the Ravens. I mean, without a doubt, for a number of reasons that I won't even bore people and get into. I just think that the Ravens are just clearly the better team at home. Lamar's, if you look at his passing numbers, not just his QBR, but the passing metric to go along with QBR, it's his best passing season. Aside from running the ball, he's basically at this point using his legs and his mobility as a way to buy more time in the pocket and find somebody downfield. So his passing ability has really progressed at this point in his career, and I just think he's playing the best football he's ever played. One more thing about the Chargers Texans game is that one thing to watch out is I think Nico Collins is the best, second best Pro Football Focus grade of any wide receiver, and I think if he gets going, he can cause the Chargers problems. That's really the only way I think the Texans win is if they get some deep shots to Nico and Stroud plays like he did last year, where he's chucking the deep ball and they find some open field in the passing game. But Nico Collins would be the difference maker in that. Other than that, the Chargers will win and the Ravens will win on Saturday.
Yeah, I think Chargers may put Still on Collins, which is a good matchup. I would say I agree. Ravens, Flowers is probably out, but still you've got enough weapons with Henry and Jackson. I mean, can take over a game themselves. And uh, in tandem with that, Steelers have just they've lost, I think, 4 in a row now. And most of their wins were against non-playoff teams. I know they beat the Ravens previously, but then they got trounced by them a couple weeks ago, got blown out by the Chiefs. So I just don't think they have the firepower to keep up with the Ravens. All right, last AFC game is Broncos Bills on Sunday at 1. Who do you got there?
This thing's an 8.5 point spread, but I believe it's going to actually be a lot closer than that. A lot of people are probably, just looking at that and thinking, oh yeah, Bills are going to go in. Josh Allen's going to run all around, run all over him. He's going to throw for like 3 touchdowns, run for one, just blow him out. But I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be a grinder. I haven't looked at the weather, but I think it's going to be a grinder of a game. I think it'll probably be like, maybe like a 24 to 16 game or something weird like that, where it's just not, it's not going to be something that's going to be a blowout like I think some people might think. I don't think Josh Allen's going to have a particularly great game. I think the defense is going to come to play for Denver, and I think Bo Nix is going to play better than expected in Denver. They're basically, in my opinion, playing with house money. I think that Sean Payton knows that he's got a year. He's a year ahead in progress with his team. I think they're on like the 2 to 3 year plan, and I think he's in year one. He's more than happy to be where he's at with Bo Nix's development. So Bills are going to win, but it's going to be a grinder of a game more than people think.
Yeah, I think I'm tempted to go with the Broncos, but I'll stick with the Bills being in Buffalo. And Nick's, I mean, you like to see the way he played against the Chiefs as the momentum going into the wild card round versus I know the Bills were resting players, but losing a game going to the playoffs doesn't necessarily help you in the playoffs. Bills D has been kind of up and down, definitely susceptible to the pass. So I think it could be, depending on the weather, it could be a high scoring game or it could be like a 9-6 game. I think it has the ability to be either or. So I'll go Bills to kind of cap it off. So it sounds like we got the same pick so far. Up next, Packers Eagles. Who are you picking there?
I mean, I'm in a tough
You
spot
got it.
with it. I'm gonna.
You got to pick.
Okay, I'm gonna pick. I can't say the Eagles because I can't do it. I'm gonna pick the Packers, but I'm gonna tell you why the Packers are gonna win. So I'm gonna give you a path to how they're gonna win. If I was
Okay.
looking at the game, like everything's pointing to the Eagles being able to win it. So I mean, it'd be boring if I said Eagles, but here's the reason why the Packers would win a game. They're going to have to go win the coin toss. They're going to have to get the ball. They're going to have to go have a consistent drive and score a touchdown on the first possession, which they can do. This isn't like out of the realm, but they're going to have a consistent drive and start fast and get a touchdown, whether it be through the run or the pass. It doesn't matter at that point. They're going to have to get a couple first half turnovers, whether it be, which again, they can do, fumble. I could see an interception. I could see Hurts being a little bit rusty, making a mistake. The biggest problem that the Packers are going to have to overcome, that I think a lot of people that don't watch the Packers or aren't Packers fans don't understand, that not having Jair Alexander in the secondary this season has been one of the biggest blows to the team. And I know a lot of people say, well, he's hurt all the time, dump him. You don't need him. Not having Jair in the playoffs, especially, is going to be a huge issue. He got an interception in the Dallas game last year. He started the defense off fast. He needs to be playing this game, which he's not going to, obviously. That's going to be the biggest thing they have to overcome. The way they overcome that is they're going to have to play they have to play their safeties back. They're going to have Xavier McKinney basically over the top of AJ Brown all game. And I think they can do that. And if they come out and they get a pass rush, which is going to be very hard, but they're going to have to mix in a blitz or two. They get some type of pass rush, whether it be through the blitz or through their front four with like Edgerrin Cooper, who is one of the highest, I think he's the highest rated or second highest rated linebacker on Pro Football Focus via the blitz or via pass rush. If they can get pressure with him and some others, I think they can force Philly into some mistakes. And if you get Philly out of the run game, they're a volume running team. So Saquon Barkley is obviously great, but he needs some volume. And if they get him out of the run early and just kind of put some pressure on that offense, I think they can grind it out in the second half if they play smart, play possession football, and keep possessions in the second half and be efficient. But they have to start off fast. I could see if the Packers win, it's going to be something along the lines of like, a 3 to 4 point win. I don't think they're obviously not going to blow them out or win by more than a touchdown. If the Packers lose, it's not going to be a blowout. I know some people think the Packers are going to get crushed because they watched them lose the Bears. It's not going to happen. They're going to lose by maybe a field goal or something. I mean, Jordan Love's the number 5 quarterback. terms of QBR. So he's not a piece of garbage like some people think. He's going to come in there and play a good game.
Yeah, I like how you're like, for the Packers to win this, the first thing they got to do is basically get lucky and win the coin toss, something they cannot plan for at all.
Well, Philly's going to
But
get
you're
the
right.
ball. They're going to. I mean, they've been known to do. They win the toss. They're going to put their defense on the field first.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess you don't have to win the coin toss, but I have worries about the Packers winning the coin toss and kicking in a playoff game, and I don't want. I want them to get the ball. I want the ball first.
Yeah. I agree. Got to establish momentum. I'll go with the Eagles. Eagles were 5-2 against playoff teams this year, including a win against Packers. Although that was week one. One of their only two losses was against the Commanders, who they also beat. The loss was that last second loss when they didn't have Hurts. They had Pickett. Hurts will be back. The rushing offense, kind of like the Ravens, is really tough to stop. You've got two All-Pro quality linemen on the Eagles at the tackle positions. Defense has showed up against playoff teams, but you're right. The Eagles they don't blow a ton of people out, blow a ton of good teams out, I should say. Kept it close with the Ravens, kept it close with the Commanders. So I think the Eagles will win the game. I'm pretty confident about that, but I could see it would not shock me if the Packers pulled off something of an upset on and certainly covered the 4.5 or whatever is the spread. Okay, Buccaneers Commanders is the nighttime game, Sunday night game. Buccaneers 3 seed, Commanders on the road. Who do you have there?
Jane Daniels, Commanders, gonna win. That's it for me. He won me a fantasy football. He won me a fantasy football championship. So I'm rolling with him. He's gonna do it. I don't know how he's gonna do it, but he's gonna do it.
Yeah, I think the Commanders win that game too. He's got that magic. Then again, I think the Buccaneers are a team that they could be a complete dark horse. They seem to put together odd wins, like they beat the Eagles, they beat the Lions, like they can beat decent teams. So I'm going to go with the Commanders, but I wouldn't be shocked to see the Bucs win. All right, Monday night, last game, Vikings at the Rams.
It pains me. I would really like to say the Rams. Because I hate the Vikings, but I think the Vikings are a better team all around. I think the Vikings, though some people might be down on them after what happened on Sunday night, I am a little bit, but I think the Vikings are just a better team. Seen them play enough where all around, it really comes down to if you shut down Puka Nacua, that's it. And if they get behind, I know Kyron Williams is like their bread and butter and they're a run team first, but if they don't have Puka wrecking that game, they're going to win. I think the Vikings offense can beat the Rams defense. You got the best, I mean, some of the probably the best wide receiver duo in football right now with Addison and Jefferson. If Darnold can stay upright and not get pressured, they win the game. I'll just say that. If he doesn't get pressure in his face like he was getting in Detroit for some ungodly reason, they got to fix that. I don't know what the problem was with that, but if he can find a way to stay upright and stay on schedule on offense and not get in these deep, third and longs, they're going to win the game. I think they'll probably win by, actually a good margin, more than, I mean, the spread's -1 right now. Vikings, I think the Vikings are going to win by 2 scores.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Vikings too. The Rams have just been, the offense has been really bad last few weeks. I don't think they've scored. They scored 25 against the Seahawks, against a Seahawks team playing for nothing. But the weeks before that, couldn't put it together against teams like the Niners. I think they beat them 12-6, Jets. Wasn't pretty. They manufacture an offense through Nacua and Williams. Nacua gets a lot of touches at the line of scrimmage, and they rely on his after catch ability, which he's probably one of the maybe the best after Chase in the NFL at that. But I think the Vikings are so well rounded. They have Grenard and Van Ginkel on the edge who are just going to be in the backfield all day, I think, against the Rams O-line. So I'll go Vikings as well. So it sounds like we got 5 of the 6 same picks. And so Eagles, Packers will be kind of the tiebreaker. But we'll check in next week with those. I know you guys don't want to necessarily hear too much about the actual NFL. I want to hear a little bit more about cards. So we'll go ahead and go over to our conversation with Dylan here, D Alpha Sports Cards on Instagram. Hope you guys enjoy. All right, we are here with Dylan, D Alpha Sports Cards on Instagram. Dylan, you finally got on the show. Thank you so much for hopping on with us, man.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. So, take us through kind of where you started collecting, like as a kid or young, whenever it was. How that kind of matured into where you are today, and doesn't have to be the specifics of where you are now because we'll talk about that. But just kind of give me a general overview of your like collecting background.
Well, I started about when I was 8. It was actually kind of to do with fantasy football. So my dad got me into fantasy football when I was 8, my first team, and he helped me draft, and it actually had LT and Antonio Gates on it, and it was LT's crazy touchdown record-breaking year. So,
It's a good
so
way
I
to
just
start. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've watched them play, and I don't know, that's kind of how my Chargers fanhood started, kind of correlated fantasy football. I just loved watching them, and then I just kind of fell in love with the team. So then after that happened, then I just kind of started like, oh, let's get some LT cards, let's get some Antonio Gates cards, and it kind of went from there and turned into all kinds of stuff.
Did you, when you were, so as you were eight, did you stop at any point in time, like take a break for like high school or,
Yeah,
after high school?
I would say high school. I mean, I collected through middle school, then I stopped in high school, and then I got back into it when I was about 20-ish, I would say, 2021.
Okay. Yeah. And when you got back into it, were you going right back into kind of what you were interested in when you were 8, or how did you kind of find your way at that point?
Well, let's see. I guess I got started when I was about 22, but it kind of, I'm not gonna lie, Herbert kind of got me back into it.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this guy is awesome. I want to get his cards, and then I just started collecting Herberts, and yeah, I kind of went from there.
I remember when you had some really nice Herberts for a while there, but I think we both realized the modern QB market. I mean, it was just too many ups and downs for us, right?
Spent way too much on that. Yeah.
Same with me and Burrow, man. I don't blame you.
So when you started with Burt, or you went from like Antonio Gates, so you were collecting Antonio Gates and a couple other players like from fantasy, right? Early on.
Yeah, yeah, I would say more so fantasy, and then like, growing up, that's kind of why I was in '90s stuff. But my dad would talk about all these running backs and stuff, and then even like his childhood, like Walter Payton, and I'm an Oklahoma State fan, so that's where like Barry Sanders and Thurman Thomas kind of come in.
That's
But
it.
and then I kind of started collecting their stuff, and uh, I liked older rookies at first. Like I like a Walter Payton rookie and Jim Brown. I had all these rookies, and I would save up my allowance. I'd get a little allowance, and I just slowly kind of put that away, and I would buy cards, and all I'd ask for Christmas was cards.
So did you jump in the '90s because of your dad? Some of the
Yeah.
running backs I see, like Thurman Thomas and Chris Martin, are those like players that your dad liked, or what got you into those guys? I mean, like you talk about fantasy football, and like Marshall Faulk was, still a fantasy football set in the 2000s. So I don't know when you got into that when you were 8, but was he a guy that you were watching or?
Yeah, more so guys my dad was talking about. So then I was like, huh. And I kind of got on, started watching videos and highlights of them. I was like, man, these guys were awesome. I wish I got to watch them, like actually, like get to watch them live. And yeah, I would say more so that's kind of like later on. That's why I started getting into collecting '90s stuff because my dad talking about all that stuff. Just kind of grew from there.
What is it that is there a particular draw for you to the running back position, or maybe was there a particular draw for your dad to the running back position? Because it's kind of like obviously having Sanders and Thomas in the OK State, but like it seems like the running backs are kind of this unifying theme that spans, like Herbert notwithstanding, most of your collecting across the eras.
Well, I've always felt like running backs, like back in the day, are just different. I mean, they were playing 10 to 15 years, getting 300 plus carries. I just thought they were special, and I don't really, I mean, aside from Derrick Henry, he's kind of a rare breed, but I don't really see any other running backs doing that nowadays. I don't see any more running backs playing 10 to 15 years and taking that much wear and tear and still being effective.
Yeah, it's a totally different game now.
Mhm.
The bell cow back is more or less dead, because teams scheme completely
Yeah, they're
differently.
all
So
most of them are committees.
yeah, that's true. So when you got into the '90s, how did you take us through a little bit about how you started to kind of familiarize yourself with like the different products and like parallels and inserts and all that kind of stuff?
I just kind of started using a little Instagram search engine and talking to people that I met through the hobby, like you. I started
Yeah.
talking to y'all about different cards, and I was like, wow, this certain card looks really cool. I want to get into it, and I would buy them, and then it kind of just built up from there, to be honest.
Yeah, you had some like I know Ruby's 97 Rubies is kind of like pulls your heartstrings the
Oh
most.
yeah,
But
oh definitely.
did was that when you got back into the '90s? Was that the one that kind of like really got your attention, or what were like the main parallels that you looked at where you're like, damn, this is so much cooler than anything I see now?
I really like 98 Atomics. I thought
Yeah,
those were really just cool, like pretty looking cards. And there's only 100 copies from 1998. I just thought they were so cool. And then I like 96 like Select Mirror Golds. I thought those were really just pretty clean looking cards. I'd say those were the two that like I just kind of noticed at first. I was like, I just kind of, man, these are this cool. I want to see what else is out there, and it just kept branching out.
Do you remember what the first, like, I don't know if it's big, but like significant '90s card um, that you bought was? Like, what was the first big one that you bought, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna be like a '90s collector. Like, who was it, and what card was it?
I would say it was probably I have a Marshall Falk 24 karat. That was one of the first like I guess big ones. And then my junior Seiyao 97 rubies were probably the two like first like big ones if you want to call them. And yeah, I'd say those were my first two that kind of started it all.
did you get that? Where'd you get that Falk Rubies from? Was it a private deal or was that like an eBay auction that you won?
My Falk rubies?
I'm
Uh
sorry, the Falk 24 karat. I meant sorry.
oh yeah, that was a private deal. I met it
Yeah.
was through Instagram. I found somebody and bought it there.
Okay, that's right. That's right. I was gonna say because I remember I think one of the first ones this is probably back in maybe it was like over a year ago. The Martin Rubies. I remember
Yes.
that one. I remember
Yeah.
I snagged that right when it popped up, which was I think it like summer 2023 or something like that. So, did you make the decision when you got into the '90s? Like, how did you come to decide? All right, it's going to be Falk, Martin, Thomas, Sayao. Like pretty much those four guys. And obviously it's morphed a little bit, but those are kind of like your four guys that you've focused on. So how did you decide on four? Like was it all at one time or did it just kind of change as you went along?
I would say each part of them kind of represents a different part of my fanhood. Like, well, Thurman Thomas, Oklahoma State running back, and I don't want to sell my house to buy Barry.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I've always liked Thurman, but that's kind of where that represents. Junior Seau, best Charger from the '90s, awesome player. I love him. Uh, let's see, and then we got Marshall Falk. He was actually when I'm a little kid. The first pictures of me when I'm like 4 was me wearing Marshall Falk jersey. So he was my first player I like represented. So I kind of went from there, and I just liked his all around, like just how great of a receiving back he was. He's like the
Yeah.
first, like I mean, he's just awesome as a receiving back. And then Curtis Martin, I just kind of feel like he was underappreciated. Like he was just so good for so long. I mean, 1,000 yards, like what, 10 years straight, and
Yeah.
he was just like just got the job done. And I feel like that kind of represents like running backs in general, like those workhorses. They just don't feel like they're appreciated like they should be. So.
Have you thought at any point about like if you were to add another player to the '90s PC, well, have you ever entertained that? And if so, who might it be if you had
mm,
to?
Let's see. I've maybe Terrell Davis. I mean, he's another running back, but
Yeah,
he was just awesome. I mean, he had like what 4 year time span of just being a freaking beast.
yeah,
Be one I would consider.
It's kind of what like the '90s are. what the 2000s were with wide receivers, the 90s were with running backs. You just had this flurry of really great running backs, like most of them that you mentioned, and then you had like really good quarterbacks too. But the wide receiving core in the 90s was kind of dominated by like guys like Jerry Rice and it was like Jerry Rice and everybody else. But then it was just this flurry of running backs. Like every team, you had to have like a great running back to compete, right? And I'm looking at your page, and like I think that Marshall Falk, that PMG, the '98 PMG, has got to be one of my favorites. I love that background.
Oh yeah, that's the best part about that horse background.
Yeah,
It's so cool looking.
So as a Chargers fan, how did you mentioned Junior Seau and the '90s Chargers? If I remember, they didn't really have Stan Humphries at quarterback, but Natron Means, right? Like they didn't have a ton of great players. But how did you incorporate your Chargers fanhood in collecting early on when you just had like a guy like Sale? Was there anybody else you looked for, or how did that Chargers fandom develop?
I mean, Junior Seau was hard to beat. And Stan Humphries, he's the only Chargers quarterback to ever get us to a Super Bowl. We've had Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, Justin Herbert, and Stan Humphries is the one to do it.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. If it had been Ryan Leaf, that might have been a little bit more poetic. But yeah, it's a shame that all the cool sets have like Ryan Leaf cards,
I know.
That's the curse of Chargers collecting. Are there any Chargers players currently you mentioned Herbert earlier, but is so the QB market's so volatile. Are there any other current Chargers players where you could say I could see myself starting a PC of that player? Either because I've watched him for a bit, like a Slater or something, or like I think he's gonna be great, and I want to get on him early.
Yeah, for Slater for sure. I like Slater and all. I just like our tackles. I mean, I feel like building a good football team starts with the O-line, and we have a really great pair of tackles. So I wouldn't mind picking up some cards of them. Lad is awesome because I'm not gonna lie, on draft day when we picked all, I was kind of upset. I wanted Neighbors really bad.
Yeah,
But now,
I remember that. Yeah,
I'm like, this is the reason I'm not a GM because he knew what he's doing. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Neighbors and whatever tackle we could have gotten in the second is going to beat Alton Ladd. It's just
Yeah.
awesome. So, yeah, I mean, the rookie class in general, I like our rookie corners we got, Still and Hart. I think they're going to be awesome for a long time. Derwin's probably my favorite non-Herbert Charger. I just love how he plays.
When did you move from you can look on your, and people can look on your page and see how it was, like we talked about, it was Martin, Falk, Seau, and Thomas, right? But over time, maybe it's past year, maybe less, you've kind of moved into the 2000s. So like some of the finest stuff, some of the early Prism stuff. What made you kind of venture into that arena? Was it like rediscovering some of those fantasy icons, or were there other reasons that you kind of moved that direction?
I would say the fantasy icons. I could see that, but also, I mean, like the '90s, it's cool. Like they're the guys I heard about, like the legends before I was around, and then you got the 2000s guys that I got to see. So I feel like it's cool to actually collect the guys as well that I got to actually watch myself.
Yeah, you've built a really impressive Gates collection in a pretty short amount of time. Do you feel like when you look at your collection and you you look at your Gates stuff and then you look at your 90s stuff, do you feel like, is there a difference in the intensity of feeling that you have when you look at the Gates stuff because you watched him, or is it all just kind of on the same level for you?
I do like the Gates collection a lot. I mean, he's the guy. I mean, him and LT made me a Chargers fan. That's been a
Right.
big part of my life. So having stuff of him is really special to me.
So you acquired recently some pretty cool cards. I remember we were talking. You got before we get in your top five, you got a really nice Thurman Thomas card, a Grail, and then I'm looking at your page and you have obviously some great Marshall Falk stuff. But share with us some of the most memorable pickups of the last year, this past 2024. I guess we're in 2025 now, but the past year.
And we could kind of do them as like maybe honorable mentions, so you don't have any
Don't get into the top
spoilers
5.
in your top 5. Yeah.
Right.
Let's see. I guess my honorable mentions, I would say I had picked up a pretty cool Tony Gonzalez. I really like this card. It's a 2013. We'll turn that away.
No, you're good. You got it.
A 2013 gold of Tony Gonzalez. I love 2013. I love 2013 Prism. I honestly think of all the years, it's probably my favorite year appearance
Me too.
wise.
I love that card.
Just the gold is. I'd love this freaking card. Let's see.
That 2013 Prism, I think, is like the nicest gold refractor of like any set ever. I mean,
best shine. Yeah, it's really good. It's really good.
I agree. Yeah, I would love to get more of my guys in that.
They're kind of trying to. The 2024 I think is kind of inspired by that. It's got a very similar design, and I really like. The 2024 has grown on me. When it first came out, I was like, it's okay, but it's really departed to me from the past like 4 or 5 years, mainly because it has more of that like select field level look where the player is really, really prominent, and up close, which is the same in the 2013 set. So I could see the inspiration, but it's hard to capture the shine of the 2013 for whatever reason, or to recreate it, I should say.
Then I have this. I have Antonio Gates 2012 gold.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I probably overpaid for this, but I freaking love this card. Yeah,
that's hard to beat.
PSA 10. It's number 1 to 10 as well, which
that's awesome.
I think that's cool. It's his
the
first.
2012 Prism Golds are getting. I mean, you get like a Hall of Fame quality player. They're getting pretty expensive, pretty pricey.
Yeah. They really are, especially in a gem mint condition.
It's a 12-year-old set. People act like, I mean, it's ultra modern. It's 12 years old. Like we're getting.
Yeah, I think it's more in the modern. Yeah, I guess it'd be more closer to modern.
Let's see, we got. I really wanted to put this one in my top 5 because I like the card a lot. But Thurman Tommen 97 Rubies.
Damn,
it's a tough card. I don't know. I just love it. The blue on the Bills jersey. It's just pretty.
I think when we were talking, Dylan, you said the 97 was your favorite parallel, right? The 97 Rubies.
I would say the 97 Rubies and the 05 and 06 Gold X's.
Okay.
I would say are pretty much tied, but yeah, it's hard to beat 97 Rubies.
That and especially that I had the Bruce Smith, and that for whatever the Bills color looks really good. It's like a pale blue in the background of that particular card for that team, and it shines better than like my Owens, better than like the Favre. It's like the perfect color scheme.
Yeah, it's like the Bills jerseys were made for those cards.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, what you got next?
And I have this Larry Fitzgerald.
Jeez, that didn't make the top 5. Wow.
I wanted to so bad. Tough, but yeah, Larry Fitzgerald, 2005 Finest Gold X. Another one I probably overpaid for, but I just had to have it.
I know what you paid, and you did not overpay for that. I think that was that one. Remind me how that popped up.
I posted a couple of times on my story before this popped up about this particular card.
Oh, okay.
Like 05 Gold X's. I was like, hey, has anyone got the Larry Fitzgerald 05 Gold X? And then maybe a month after I did that, then I saw it on a story sale, and I was like,
that's right.
I have to have that card.
It looks really good. Yeah, with the white jersey. Oh man.
The thing is with those cards, like, I mean, I don't think you're ever going to look back and be like, we joke around about it now, like, oh yeah, you overpaid if you think that. But like, I don't think you're going to look back and be like, God, I wish I didn't buy this card because I overpaid. Like, they're just great cards. And even if you spent a little bit too much on them, like, oh wow, because you're not going to, it's not like you're finding them again. It's not like you see the cards sold every day where it's like, God, this thing's selling for half what I paid. Who cares, right?
That's right.
Oh no, I agree. Oh, I would have paid more. I don't care. It's just man, I had to have that card. Let's see.
Give me some more, because you got way more than 5 good ones. Yeah, but he's got so many good ones that could be anybody's top 5.
Another Antonio Gates. Antonio Gates, Finest Gold Antonio Gates, 2010 Finest Super Fractor.
Jeez.
Yeah, I love these. I love that 2010 through 2012 Finest time frame. They're pretty looking cards.
And you've got the Mosaic Refractor from that set too, right?
Yeah, I have the 2010 and 2011 mosaics of him as well.
Jeez.
Those are pretty looking cards.
What's your favorite 2000 to 2000, like before the Panini era? What's your favorite 2000s parallel?
Other than the Gold X, because I think you said that was your
Oh,
top.
yeah. So another one other than the Gold Axe.
But the O2 finest X Fractors are hard to beat.
Okay.
Those are pretty looking cards, and they're numbered out of 20, but I feel like they're so much rarer than 20, it feels like.
Yeah.
They're one that never pops up. And then I have this, the 2012 finest Antonio Gates Super. I feel like this is probably my favorite of the two. Just the shine on the 2012 Super is really pretty.
So we need to find you the 2011 then to kind of bridge that run, right?
Oh yeah, I would. That's probably the best looking Super from that time frame too. Probably my favorite Super in general. But yeah, that would be awesome if I could find the Antonio Gates of that.
You've got the TO, so that's a good starting point. Maybe someone will trade you TO for the Gates or something. All right. Have you any more honorable mentions you got, or do you want to jump into your top 5? No pressure either way, because we could sit here and look at your collection all day. So whatever you want to do.
I guess I can go ahead.
While you're looking for those two, where would you place the Superfractor parallel compared to like let's say the Black Finite? Like, what would you rather have, the Black Finite or a Superfractor? Not a particular player, but just in terms of a parallel.
I would say Superfractors overall. I think they're prettier looking cards. But I mean, like Panini, there are like 2012, 2013, 2014. Those few years of Finites are really freaking hard to beat. But like Superfractors in general are just, I think overall, pretty tough. I'd
just like to throw that question out there for someone who collects both Superfractors and Finites, who's in the Panini era and before that. I think it's a cool practice to kind of like compare the two parallels, and I mean, you get different opinions, so that's cool to hear.
So here's a question. Would you take a 2012 Black Finite Gates or a 2011 Finest Superfractor Gates?
Oh.
Here's the true test.
I like the finest. I really do.
Okay.
I love those finest supers. They are just pretty looking, clean, simple, nice looking cards.
Yeah, that's a great year. You're right. I think that's probably the best one.
Sure, I can show this. I have the Antonio Gates 2013 Prism. We were talking about how we like those a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I just love gold Charger stuff. Just the gold and yellow and kind of match up. Probably like how Brian likes like Packers with the gold stuff. I'm sure that's.
Yeah, it looks great, I think.
That's a good pairing. I love your post. People looking at November 14th. It's the Gates and Gonzalez 2013 golds next to each other. Really, really cool looking. Perfect capturing of the shine too.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Let's get into your top 5 here. We'll start with number 5. Tell us just, obviously what it is, because some people are listening. Some people hopefully are watching on YouTube and can see some of these cards. But just kind of start at 5 and give us a kind of a brief explanation of why it's on the list.
We talked about it earlier, but I would say my probably number 5 would be the Marshall Falk 98 PMG. Because I mean, I like 98 PMGs. I don't love them except for this card. It's just the background. Like I have a Thurman Thomas as well, but the background just doesn't pop like this. It's just the horse in the background. It just stands out so well. It's just a pretty looking card.
Yeah, that's I think one of the best. We've mentioned that before. It's one of the best in the set overall. I think it just works really well. Like an animal in the background can backfire sometimes if it looks stupid, right? But like that one it's just perfectly placed, perfect framing. So that's awesome card. All right, what do you got at number 4?
Number 4, where'd it go? This one hurts to put number 4. I legitimately, these top 4 I could put it in any order, but let's say the Junior Seau 24 karat gold.
Yeah.
I love the picture of him. Looks like he just made a big play, celebrating. the Chargers gold, and I mean these these cards have such bad surface issues, and this copy is very, very clean for one of those. It got an 8, but I mean I don't think it really, I mean it doesn't matter, but
Yeah.
it's just a pretty looking card. The front's just perfect looking. I love this card so much.
Yeah.
That semi-color
It's-
match too with the Chargers with that foil
Yeah.
is just amazing.
And I probably
Yeah.
spent maybe a year and a half, 2 years just looking for this card. Could not find it anywhere, and then finally got lucky.
Is this the one? I think is this the card that where you said like this is Seau's best pose on a card, or was that a different one? I think it's
The 97 rubies is right there with him.
That's
I mean,
right.
That's like,
Yeah.
I mean, looks like he's celebrating there too. Like he just made a big play. It's kind of the same. Like
That's right.
Yeah.
So the 97 Seau rubies did not make your top 5. I take it then.
no, it didn't. This was really tough.
I was gonna say, man, there's so many. I'm looking at you. I'm like, where is this one gonna be? There's only three left. So what are they gonna do?
I have my Marshall Faulk 97 rubies.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is I love this set. I love Marshall Faulk. This one doesn't pop as much, like the color match as much as the Thurman, but Marshall Faulk is my guy. Just a pretty card. I think there's only 2 or 3 graded at PSA now. It's just beautiful.
That one kind of popped up. I knew you were looking for that one for a while, and that was one I think you did through Fund Your Cards, right? That was one of the ones.
I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So we got two Falks already in the top 5. So he's kind of dominating so far.
I was gonna put that Martin in here to represent him,
yeah.
but that Faulk is just so special.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Falk is the best of the bunch. Although the Thomas is close. I don't know. They're all really nice. You can't go wrong with any of them.
Yeah, I almost like want to put the Faulk to like kind of represent all of the 97 rubies.
Yeah.
In a way.
I'd have that Falk up there too. That's one of my favorite cards as well. I mean, I'm biased because I love Falk, but I think that card looks really sweet.
All right, top 2, which I'm assuming I know, and these were both acquired, I think this year, right?
They were, yes.
Yeah.
I think I know them as well. I know one for sure, but
yeah.
This one is the Tony Gonzalez 2012 Black Finite.
Jeez.
Yes. I'm not gonna lie. When I was trying to get this card, I asked the owner about a 2012 gold,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "Hey, I'm like, do you have the 2012 gold?" And he's like, "No, but I have the Black Finite." And I was like, "No way!" No. It's like, no way I'm gonna get this.
Yeah.
Sure, whatever. And then somehow I own this card, and it's like this is the one card in my collection. I can't believe I own it. Like it doesn't even.
Yeah.
I would have bet a lot of money a couple of years ago that I would never own anything like that card. And here we are.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. What did was it a Gonzalez collector, or was it just someone that had it and was like looking to actively try to get rid of it?
He did have a lot of Tony Gonzalez.
Okay.
Through the Instagram search machine, I saw it had a few owners over the years, but yeah, this one ended up landing with the Gonzalez collector, and yeah, sent it my way.
Wow, that's impressive. I'm surprised he let that go, but you know, your his loss is your gain, so can't complain too much about that. All right, take us home with the number 1 card in your collection. Tell us a little bit about how you got it.
It would be my Thurman Thomas Green PMG. I've had this card for, I guess, coming up on a year now, but I knew the owner had it, and I probably spent about a year trying to talk this owner into potentially parting with it. And then one day he was like, "All right, well, here's the number." And I was like, "I'm not gonna argue with it. Let's roll with it." Card like that, I don't think I'm gonna be able to make any sort of talking. I'm like, "All right, well, let's do it."
I was gonna say all of those cards you got in your top 5 came through Instagram deals, right? Private deals.
I believe Seau came through Facebook.
Oh, okay.
But
non-public auctions, I guess. Non-auctions, I guess I should say. All kind of relationship building for the most part.
Except for the Falk 98 PMG. I got that on the 90s auction site.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That was a good win. But that Thomas, man, yeah, you were working on that for a long time, it felt like. And then that was, it was funny, that was the one. Is that 7 out of 150? Is that 007?
10.
10. Okay. That's right, because we had a fake 010 that came up
Yeah,
around that
Beckett
time.
copy.
Yeah, the Beckett copy. And the only reason I knew that, well, obviously I knew it was fake because of the serial, but it was one of the rare instances where I could point to, here's the real 10, right? Here's a picture of the real 10, so you could compare them to each other. It was just pretty wild. But I'm glad you got that one. That's an incredible top 5. Give us kind of like, just briefly, 2 or 3 cards that you're like at the top of your list that you maybe hope to find this year, and maybe someone out there listening has them.
Well, we talked that 2011 finest super of Antonio Gates probably takes the cake. I don't even know if it's been pulled. I've checked the pop reports. I haven't seen it anywhere. That one takes the cake. I would really like to find the Tony Gonzalez and Larry Fitzgerald '06 finest gold X's, since I have the '05s of each of them. So it'd be cool to complete that pairing. Like I have the Antonio Gates '05 '06. It's kind of cool to put those together.
Dylan, as a
Let's see.
fellow, I guess ultra modern, and I know Zan kind of getting into some of the modern stuff too, and appreciating it. But like as a modern collector and a '90s collector, what is the draw, or like what's the, no pun intended, the parallel between the two, and what is the thing that kind of draws it? Because I'm seeing more of it. What's the thing that kind of draws '90s collectors into some of the modern sets and parallels, specifically like the Prism Golds and the finite stuff? Like what's the draw and the appeal for '90s and these 2000 stuff?
I mean the Prism stuff. It's just really. I mean, it's really shiny. So I think a lot of people just like the shine of the golds and the finites. I mean the nice '90s stuff. I mean they're obviously shiny as well. And I mean people kind of get all their guys from the '90s, and then they're like, oh, what's going on over here in Prism, and then they just kind of branch out from there.
Yeah.
Because they're
Yeah,
still
that's
watching
right.
football. It's not like they stopped watching football. So they're seeing
Right.
players that they're drawing a connection to, and they're like, I want to buy something kind of equivalent to these guys too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Zan's been. You said you've been getting Jamar Chase lately.
I've been picking up some ultra modern. Yeah,
Yeah.
just mainly because part of it is also like I have kids that watch football and really like football, and so it's kind of like it's fun to collect guys that you watch, or actively watching, right? Um, and there's sort of like that rooting component in current fantasy, right? Especially like now, like I think all 3 of us are in at least one dynasty league, right? So it's kind of like your own, you've kind of can build your own franchise, and you have like an investment in, like, a player, as stupid as this sounds to probably anyone who doesn't collect cards or play dynasty football, but like, it's, there's something kind of fun about that.
I think it's really cool to see a blend of that's why I asked the question for Dylan. I think I agree 100%. I think it's kind of cool to see a blend of, '90s and ultra modern. I like that connection. And I think that I don't think the '90s are really like just exclusive to an era. Kind of like if you looked at, vintage like '50s or '60s cards, it's not like exclusive to that era. I think the door is more open for people that collect '90s to kind of get into like the early 2000s stuff because there's a bridge. But like we've talked about before, the problem with the early 2000s, I feel there's like limited parallels and sets that you can kind of collect that are, I hate to say the word significant because it's relative to the collector, right? But like for the stuff that we talk about and that we're going for, it leaves a little bit to be desired in the early 2000s. But then I think that's why for me, that when that Prism stuff came along and looking back at it, like it's 12 years old now, and then looking back at that, you got the rarity and the scarcity and the really nice shine and cool parallels like the '90s had. So I think I appreciate like Dylan's collection, how he's got a nice blend, really nice balance to the '90s stuff, the prominent running backs and the big guys in the '90s. And then he carries it on through the early 2000s with the Gates stuff, right, and the Gonzalez, and then you get into the ultra modern stuff with those guys too. But you even talk about trying to get, Herbert if you can. But I agree, like his stuff is just, he got too good too fast. I mean, if that's not a bad thing as a Chargers fan, but he did. I mean, that's why he
Yeah.
gets the flippers and stuff involved, and they start jacking his price up. So
Yeah, once he hit that, I mean, that $1 million Black Finite sale, $1 million in T101 sale, like it just kind of messed everything up for his market. And people who like Dylan actually want to collect him, right? Like it's hard, becomes harder.
to an LT collection, like what are some? Could you end maybe with like a few LT cards that you would target? Because I've done this exercise with him where it's I'm trying to think of like what I would collect if I were an LT collector, because he was in that tough era of like early 2000s where it's to me is like a handful of cards, right? Like what would you go after?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the gold X's would definitely be my top chase, but I can't remember. Someone's looking for the 05, and he's been
Yeah,
looking for a long time.
Brooklyn Berry Bright. Yeah, he's looking. Yeah.
Yeah, so he definitely needs first dibs on that one. But yeah, if I could find another 06, that would be cool. The mosaics from the 2010, 2011 are pretty tough to beat. I mean, they're just pretty cards. I mean, heck, Panini, they're making a whole product line called Mosaic. I mean, there's pretty looking cards.
Problem is
Super
he's in the Jets jersey, and
I
is he in
know.
both of them? Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I believe that was his first year with the Jets. Was 2010, if I remember right.
Yeah, that's right. I think so.
Yeah, so he's Jets both of those, but it would still be cool, even though he's in a Jets jersey. It definitely takes a little bit of the appeal out of it to me as a Chargers fan, but I'd still like to find him.
Maybe an O2 finest gold. Does that interest you? It's got the it's his is a memorabilia card though.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, he doesn't have the
that
X
was cool.
Fractor with the memorabilia. He's just got the gold, right?
Yeah, he's just got the gold.
I wish he didn't have the jersey in it. I like just the regular. Like, I think there's a few players like Curtis Martin and Tony Gonzalez both have just the regulars, so that's why I've been chasing them.
That's why I got rid of the Favre. I got the Favre, and I thought, I mean, it was cool. Like at the time, like you get a gold refractor plus the jersey, and it's game worn. Like it was cool. But then I'm looking at it, and I see some others that are, the X Fractors that I've had before, and I'm like, God, I just wish this was like an X Fractor. And then I just kind of lost interest in it. And I'm like, you know what?
Ruins the aesthetic a little. I agree.
Oh, another thing about like the whole like Panini and 90s era, I think it's cool once you get like, because there's a few guys. I think me and somebody were talking about it, but how there's some players like started like they have cards in the 90s and their careers just perfectly go over that time frame. That's why I like Tony. That's a big reason I like to go to Gonzalez, because I mean he started in 97 and he retired in 2013 or 2014. So Tony Gonzalez is literally in all the good 90 sets, the big 2000 sets, and even has 2 playing years in Panini years.
I think you were talking to Austin about that, because I think he asked. Yeah, I think he asked us like, could we think of anybody who has a 97 PMG and a 2012 gold prism from active playing days? And I think the answers were just Tony Gonzalez and Ray Lewis. Those are the only 2 guys that we could think of, or that probably y'all thought of. And even then, like, is there anybody who has a 2012 gold prism but is in the good 90 sets? Manning, yeah, the 98 rookies, Champ Bailey, Moss, Manning, Woodson, and Bailey, maybe. Like, that's about it. It's hard to find, right? And so, there's definitely that, like, it's kind of cool to bridge that era gap with Tony G. But all right, well, Dylan, thanks so much for joining the show, guys. If you don't follow him, check his page out on Instagram, and we'll have to have you back down the line, maybe once you get that Gates Superfractor.
That's gonna be a long wait, but it'll be fun to case.
All right, thanks again, man.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Dylan.
Absolutely. Thanks again to Dylan for joining the show, taking us through his amazing collection. Brian, I mean, damn, like, I was looking at his page. I was like, how's this guy going to come up with a top 5? It sounded like it was difficult for him to do so, but so many good cards there.
very focused collector. He's got a lot of great cards. He doesn't have, he doesn't go out and buy a lot of random stuff. He's really, deliberate and organized with his collection. I really appreciate. I like the crossover between the 90s and the modern stuff, and he's a really great person to talk to. I enjoy, conversations about cards with him on Instagram. If you don't follow him and message him. He's always, willing to talk about some of his collection and cards in general. He's really passionate about it. So just a great collector overall.
You're right about focus. Like, that's something I can't do. We both struggle with that same way. Like, his list is solid, and then he gets it and he keeps it. Like, it's pretty standard. So yeah, very impressive. We will be back next week. Collector conversation or set examination. Got a lot of good collectors coming up here in the next month or two. So stay tuned for that. We'll catch you next week.